All right, welcome. Today, we're going to dive right into the heart of any enterprise resource planning system, its database. Using Chapter 2 of our source material as our guide, we're going to explore how an ERP system takes a company's most valuable asset, its data, and makes sense of it all. Let's get into it.
You know how it is in a lot of companies, right? Information is, well, it's all over the place. You've got customer data in one system, inventory in another, financials buried in some spreadsheet. Without an ERP, it's literally like a library with no catalog. Just a chaotic pile of books where finding anything is a total nightmare. And that leads to mistakes, wasted time, and really bad decisions. So, how do you fix that mess? Well, that's where the ERP's database comes in. It's the master plan, the blueprint, designed to take all that scattered information and bring it together, turning all that chaos into perfect order. Think of it as the blueprint for a perfect digital library. So, to build this digital library, we have to start with the foundation. The entire structure of an ERP system, the whole shebang, rests on a very specific type of database that's designed for one thing: efficiency and order. And that foundation, it's called a relational database. Now, don't let the name scare you. All it really is a super organized system that stores data in these simple two-dimensional tables. It's the master blueprint that makes sure every single piece of information has a logical, predictable place to live. Now, take a look at this. It might look really simple, but trust me, this is incredibly powerful. What you're seeing is a basic table, and it's a fundamental building block of our whole digital library. In this supplier table, each row represents one unique supplier, and each column holds a specific piece of info about them, like their ID, their name, or their payment terms. Let's stick with our library analogy, because it works so well here. Think of this supplier table as a single bookshelf. Each row, that's a unique book, a supplier. And each column is like a detail you'd find on the cover: title, author, that kind of thing. It's just simple, clean, and organized. Okay, so here's a question for you. How do you make sure you don't accidentally mix up two suppliers who might have similar names? Well, that's where the primary key comes in. It's a totally unique identifier for every single row in a table, like a special library code for one specific book, so it can never, ever get lost. In our table, the supplier_ID is that primary key. No two suppliers can have the same one, period. All right, so we've got our bookshelves, but a great library isn't just about having shelves. It's about this system that keeps everything on them organized. Let's dig into how ERP databases stop things from getting messy and repetitive. And that amazing system is called database normalization. It sounds kind of technical, but the idea is simple. It's a process for structuring all your tables to get rid of redundant data. The goal is to make sure that any piece of information only has to be updated in one single place. It's basically the database version of the Dewey Decimal System, a master strategy for keeping everything logical. And this right here is where you can really see the power of organization. On the left, you got this messy, unnormalized table. See how one student has multiple subjects just crammed into a single record? It's a total mess. But on the right, after we apply just the first rule of normalization, boom, each subject gets its own clean, unique row. The data is now way easier to manage. So, what's the point of all this organizing? Why do we do it? The ultimate goal is to create what our source material calls a single version of the truth. When your data is clean and integrated, everyone in the company, from sales to the warehouse, is accessing the exact same, up-to-date, and accurate information. They're all reading from the same book. Okay, our library is all nicely organized. Now, let's talk about the two main types of books it holds, because not all information is created equal. Some of it is pretty permanent, while other stuff is changing all the time. So on one hand, you've got what's called master data. Think of this as the library's permanent collection, the core info that doesn't change much, right? Your suppliers, your customers, your products. Then, on the other hand, you have transaction data. This is like the library's daily checkout log. It's constantly changing, recording all those day-to-day events like purchase orders and sales invoices. And here's the kicker. These two types of data are completely dependent on each other. You literally can't process a transaction, like a purchase order, without the master data that tells you who the supplier is and what the inventory items are. They have to work hand in hand. So, we've designed our library, we've organized its contents. Now for the last big decision. Where are we actually going to put it?
This is a huge choice every single company has to make when they're implementing an ERP. And the question, when you boil it all down, is pretty simple. Do you build your own library from the ground up, or do you just rent some space in a much bigger, professionally managed one? Okay, let's break that choice down. Building your own, we call that on-premise, gives you total control. But man, it costs a ton of money up front and it's slow to get going. Now, renting space in the cloud, well, that's way faster. It's super scalable and you just pay a predictable subscription fee. That's what we call software as a service, or SaaS. The right choice really just depends on what you need. Do you need high control for super sensitive data, or do you need flexibility to grow? And all of this brings us right back to the ultimate goal. Just like our source material says, a well-designed ERP database means the whole company has a single version of the truth. And every single user benefits because they're all sharing information that's current, complete, and accurate. The chaos is gone. All that's left is clarity.
So, after all this, what's the one thing you should walk away with? It's that the structure of your data, it's the absolute foundation of your business. Understanding this blueprint isn't just some techie exercise. It's about making sure your organization is truly built to last. So it leaves me with one final question for you. Is your organization's digital library built to last? Thanks for joining me.